myths. The first myth that we want to tell you the truth about today is that you do not have to be everywhere as fast as possible. You do not have to be in every single place online, every single social media network, and just plaster the internet with your brand. This is a very false statement for people who are beginning. Later on in your brand, as you grow, you're going to have to expand, and there's going to come a point where be everywhere is going to make a lot of sense for you. But the truth is that you really need to be somewhere before you can be everywhere. And one of the best guys out there is Pat Flynn, and Pat Flynn says this. He has a great philosophy called Be Everywhere, and that is a strategy of being in a lot of different channels. But I think people misconstrue what he's saying. He doesn't mean the first day that you start out, you should go out and say, okay, I've got this checklist of these 14 social networks. I've got to have YouTube set up. I've got to have a blog, I've got to have a website, I've got to do all of these things, and I have to do this by the end of the first week. That is not what Be Everywhere means. You want to expand, but you have to start in one place. For example, Jocelyn and I, even today on Flipped Lifestyle, we have our blog. We don't try to create a video channel and blog every week and do all those things. We have our blog where we post our podcast. We have a Facebook and a Twitter. That's it. We just started an Instagram account. We're going to start using that a little bit more. But the only reason we've started using Instagram is because we can link it to our Facebook and our Twitter. So we can take those pictures and share them in two places at once. So it kind of saves us time instead of adding something else. And I think people try to do this early on, and that's why a ton of people fail. You may be feeling this right now. You may be totally overwhelmed by everything you're trying to do. You're trying to record a video, write a blog post, get your podcast done, share on Twitter, share on Facebook, pin your posts, go to LinkedIn, connect with 5 people. You're trying to do all of these things, and you really don't even have an online business yet. So don't let yourself get overwhelmed by trying to be everywhere as soon as you start your online business, or even 6 months into your online business. You still shouldn't be trying to be everywhere.
And unless you have a team of people under you, this type of thing is just impossible to keep up. You can't do it. It's just not humanly possible. So trying to put all of that extra stress on yourself to be on all these social media channels, to have a YouTube channel, to have a website, to have a blog, to have a podcast, all of those things are just too much when you're starting out. And it's even overwhelming for us. We're just starting to get a team in place that helps us to do things, and that's going to allow us to be in more places, but we still can't do it all.
When you see people who have all of these channels and all of these things, always remember there's a lot going on behind the scenes. If someone has a YouTube channel and it's really professional, and they have a podcast, and they're on all these social media networks, here's what's really happening. Number one, they've got a team that's coming in, recording their video, editing, and posting it. Their podcast, they're recording it, but then they're turning it over to an editor and someone who writes their show notes and someone else who transcribes it. Their social media is probably automated with a tool like Meet Edgar or Buffer app, or they may even have a VA checking their post and responding. It might not even be them. Some of it's probably them, but more than likely they have an infrastructure in place. Jocelyn and I are doing the same thing right now. When we record our podcasts, we do a bunch of them in one day, and we put them in a Dropbox folder, and we have a great editor who comes in and takes care of the audio. He has a person on his team that writes the show notes. They outsource and get our transcript written. They make the entire post. All we do is check it and publish it. Our social media is I'd say about at least 50 to 60% automated. Or even our Twitter and our Facebook, we do have scheduled posts. We'll plan out what we want to talk about during the month, and we'll go in and do that at the beginning of the month. And then we'll check in about every other day with some things that are really going on in real time. But that allows us to free up some time. So when you hear all these things and you look at it and you're like, man, I'm so frustrated, I can't do this. That's because that infrastructure, that team has not been put in place over time.
And we would rather you start out and be successful in 1 or 2 areas than to try to do 50 areas and completely fail.
So myth number 1 is when you start an online business, you have to be everywhere as fast as possible. That is not true. The truth is you have to be somewhere before you can be everywhere. So embrace that truth. Pick the one thing you like to do. If it's a blog, if it's video, or if it's audio, do a podcast or do video or do a blog. Don't put ands in there. And pick the social network that you're most active in, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Choose that one thing. Spend about 3 months doing that, what you do best, what you like best. And I promise you that you will be much farther ahead in your online business than if you try to be everywhere up front.
All right, and that brings us to myth number 2, and this is one we hear all the time. This myth is that it is free or costs almost nothing to be successful online, and this is just not true. It's just like anything else in life. You have to put some kind of investment in to be successful. You can start out for free. There are a lot of free things out there, but your progress and the success you're going to have based on those free things is going to be limited. You're going to have to pay for tools that work. Free tools, they're fine to start out, but they are going to be limited. And it's just like a lot of the free things that we see out there, there can be problems with it. Like a lot of the free themes that can have advertising included that you don't even know about, that you agree to in their 14-page terms and conditions that nobody reads. So you just have to be very careful about things like that. They seem really good on the surface and like they're really going to work, but a lot of times we've seen people fail. Another point about this is if you put money into something, you have an incentive. It makes you want to work that much harder because you want to get your money's worth out of it. If you get something for free, you may or may not go through with it or make it successful. And it's just like we're getting ready to start some challenges for Flip Lifestyle, and we are going to charge for those. And there may be people out there that say, oh, why are you charging for this? And the reason why is because if you have something in it, if you've made a little bit of investment, you're going to put that much more effort into getting it done. If we just give it away for free, whatever, I'll look at it when I have time. But if you put a little bit of money into it, that's going to make you look at it and make you want to succeed that much more.
So basically these challenges are like we take something that holds people back or a fear, like maybe time management. People always say to us, I don't have time to start an online business. That's not true, because when we started an online business, we had as busy a schedule as anybody could have, working full-time job, raising kids, all the responsibilities of everything in life, and we still made it work. And we created this 21-day challenge to prove to someone, if you go through this, you're going to find hours upon hours every week that you've got that you could put into investing in your future in an online business. And we thought about, hey, let's put these out and let's just let people jump in them. But when we kind of tested this a little bit, people would go through like 5 or 6 days and they would just quit because it was free. They didn't care. It wasn't on their radar. They had no skin in the game. You know what I'm saying? So basically, if we charge for them, if we say, all right, these are $20, whatever. If you put a little money down on it, you don't want to waste your money. You've invested in yourself, and you're going to make sure you finish that challenge, and you're going to have a much greater chance of success. It's the same thing with your online business. If you just putting all these free tools together and doing this and doing that, and you're kind of dabbling in it here and kind of dabbling in it there, you don't have any vested interest. You don't have any skin in the game. So basically, you don't. It's easy for you to just say, it's not hurting my wallet. It's not hurting me anyway. I'd rather have my time. I'm just going to go watch some TV or something else. But if you've put a couple $100 into your online business this month, you're going to sit down and work because you can't waste that money. Your budget would get busted if you did that every single month. That's why this myth is so dangerous, because people are always say, use my free tool, use my free tool, use my free tool, do this, do that. And really, it's just not going to work. Once you put it all together, things are going to start conflicting. You're going to kind of work yourself, back yourself into a corner, and you're not going to be able to take your business to the next level. A great example of this is advertising. A lot of people really push the idea of, organic, just write as much content as you can. And if you build it, they will come. The search engines will find you. You'll build authority over time, and everything's just going to be fine. That's cool. You can do that. We did that with some of our sites. But the problem with doing that is that takes forever. I mean, it's going to take you 6 months, a year before you gain any kind of traction in your niche. And you're not going to be able to consistently keep up the energy and go forward with your online business if you're trying to grow everything for free and organic, and you're trying, if I can just get to 500 blog posts by next year, I'll make it. Well, the truth is you're going to quit in 3 months because you're going to be so tired of making content and seeing absolutely no return. Where if you had just took $50 or something in ads this month and drove people to your website and got those great eyeballs that are in your audience looking at that digital product you made for $25, you're going to start making sales, and that's going to give you that motivation to keep moving forward.
Just start out small. It doesn't have to be a ton of money. That's not what we're saying here. Even if you just put a little bit into ads, into some kind of tool that you need, whatever amount of money that you're putting in, that's going to help you to get a greater return in the end.
One of the most popular podcasts that we've ever put out was the Flip Lifestyle Podcast number 14, and you can find that at fliplifestyle.com/podcast14. And it's how to start an online business in 1 hour a day and for $100 a month. And then podcast 15 is actually part 2 of that episode. And we show you how you have to spend money and you've got to spend time, but you can do it in a smart way. And if you pick the right tools early, you don't have to buy every single tool. There are some good free tools. There's some good free plugins, but we basically go through all of the things that we think you should go ahead and invest in early on. And we wish that someone had told us to invest in when we were starting our online business, and that's going to get you a little bit farther ahead of the game. But like Jocelyn said, you can do this for $100 to $200 a month. We're not saying go break the bank and throw $1,000 at a business that doesn't even exist, but you are going to have to spend money online.
And we wanted to mention a good post on this too. This is actually my sister's blog, nutsandboltsmedia.com. It's called The Myth of the Zero Cost Online Business. So if you want to check that out, we'll put a link to it in today's show notes. It's fliplifestyle.com/podcast43. All right, so myth number 2, again, is that it is free or costs almost nothing to be successful online. And we're here to tell you the truth today that it's not free. Sometimes it's not even cheap. And there's no way that your website or your business is going to be very successful unless you invest money to make it work.
You just listened to an excerpt from this week's Flip Lifestyle podcast. To listen to the full podcast, complete with the show notes, photos, and links mentioned in the show, click the link on the description below. For updates on future episodes, make sure you click subscribe.